Hello. Welcome. I'm going to come down here. Well, first of all, I'm mostly going to come down here because Matt Krell is going to go up there. Welcome. Thanks for coming today. Probably one of the things, as I thought of this morning, that we should have put in the briefing agenda on the portal is that we are going to talk about the preliminary budget assumptions for next year. So you're all in a good place to hear, and some of you may have heard already because you were either at the board meeting or know someone was at the board meeting, but we will be going through that a little bit today so you can kind of get an idea of what we're thinking for the budget for next year. So welcome. This is a kind of interesting echoey sort of sound system, so we'll adjust, but thanks for being flexible with the closing of the school and all of that. So did you all enjoy your couple of days? Except Keith. Okay, facilities aren't included, and Kevin and Bill, who are out in their boots on, what is today, Thursday? Went Tuesday morning. But we came out, you saw the porta potties are gone now, right? Or are they still out there? The porta potties? Well, we had porta potties out there because of the board meeting on Tuesday night, but you know what, we make it work. We're flexible people, so all good. We're going to start out, Matt did a presentation at the board meeting that we're going to start with right now, and it's a survey that we did of first semester students in the fall. Very good information. It has helped us kind of set some of our direction, so we're going to have Matt review that quickly.
Oh, cool. I didn't even have to do anything. Sweet. I'll answer it for you. Sure. They might not like what I have to say, but I'll answer it for you. Okay. Good morning, almost afternoon, everybody. So as Lori said, back in fall of 17, we reached out to all 780 some new students and just asked them to weigh in on more or less why they picked Kishwaukee College. The idea behind this is to help develop orientation and retention strategies, which we know we talk about a lot, and one of the best people we can get input from are the folks who just walked in here. So all of 5 slides, so stay with me, including this one. We'll get through it pretty quick, and then I'll field any questions if someone should have them. So 155 out of 724 people responded. That was 21.4%, so pretty good as far as the surveys go. One of the basic questions we asked students is, was Kish your first choice? And it was a pretty good, strong fielding of yes, with 77% saying that we were the first choice. No surprise here. The biggest other for those who said no, the other choice was NIU, with about 1 out of 4 saying that. An additional 1 out of 4 saying contiguous community colleges around us, specialty programs often that they offered, and then it was just all across the board, different places. We also asked students just about, in regards to just Kishwaukee College, us specifically, what drew you here? What drew you here? Sorry, 2 days off, I'm not in my A game. Anywho, so as we see quite often from our alumni surveys and other student surveys, location and cost pretty much a dead heat between those as far as being the #1 reasons why students come to us, with 77% saying very influential or higher, which extremely influential was above that. So that was the location and cost, as we often are pretty well cognizant of, go hand in hand. You can stay living home with your parents quite often. So with the least one rolling down the list here, transfer options, academic quality, a program of study specifically, facilities, Kish website, scholarship availability, student activities, and then still about 1 out of 10 saying athletic programs, so those most often being the athletes themselves or perhaps friends of the athletes. Next one, and this one was kind of interesting because we never really explored this as intensely as we did this time around, but we asked, okay, that's what you like about Kish that brought you here. What about stuff outside of things that Kishwaukee College necessarily has a direct hand in that may have influenced you to come here? And with this, not even a battle here with something else, hands down parents, which we also go ahead and attribute a little bit to the cost thing because, well, when you're running through cost-effective programs to go to school for your kids, most often your local community college is going to be the smart pick. Friends, I thought that was kind of cool, was the next most influential thing. So people in your life, as we often know. It's just nice seeing these specific figures on that. So 57% said very influential, higher to parents, friends, a decent chunk under that. Third being your high school counselors, then campus visit days, high school teacher, prior dual credit experience, and then lastly, campus recruiter, but still 18%, nearly 1 out of 5 saying campus recruiter is still very influential or higher to their motivation to come to Kish. So, the next question we asked is, we spent a lot of time talking about, okay, what do we think they need to know more about? And these are going to be pretty similar to what we think students ought to know walking in, but we asked them what they thought they wish they had more or less had slapped upside the head a little bit harder walking in. And the first one was understanding college rigor, the process of what college requires out of you. That being attending class, homework on your own time and your own process, planning, getting it together, and I specifically pull out self-motivation. Because while faculty and staff and everyone can support you, ultimately students know this is kind of on me, or they need to learn that more so because they're saying they didn't understand that well enough. Understanding financial aid, no kidding. Parents half the time wish they could say they understood the financial aid process better because it is a process and there's a lot to it, as well as scholarship opportunities. Nothing. I was well informed, I knew everything, thanks for asking, which is something good to see our students say. I like this one a lot because I could relate to it as well as far as getting interested in college. The importance of developing relationships with faculty and fellow students, the people you meet, the networking, the process, all encompassing with what goes on outside the classroom. The importance of getting involved on campus, and understanding student support services, i.e. that being specifically the library, the Learning Skills Center, our TRIO program. And then lastly, again, understanding campus layout, most specifically where I need to go and how to read the maps. So, like I say, all stuff that we talk about. There's a whole big comprehensive list of this. These are just the heavy hitters. I was thinking about for giggles. The number 10 down was utilizing ratemyprofessor.com, which I always tell students in my class, take with a grain of salt what people are willing to say when they're, anonymous. But anyway, this was the entirety of the presentation and the survey. So, does anyone have any questions? Glorious. All right, I'm done.
Thanks, Matt. This information we've used to start some processes and projects. One example is making the CSD class. We're going to make it mandatory in the first semester when students come in next year. So that'll be a change that we're going to implement. So things like that to really look at. And then what is in that CSD 100 class and how can those competencies be reinforced in the introductory classrooms, and just some of those conversations. We often talk, I hear a lot, you probably hear a lot, guidance counselors, right? Those darn guidance counselors, those darn high school guidance counselors, they're not doing enough to help students get to our college. And I used to be one 16, 18 years ago, and I had heard a survey back then that the #1 influencer on what a young person does when they go into what they do after high school is parents. And then it was, at that time, it was parents, friends, teachers, and then counselors. Well, counselors have jumped up to #3. I'm glad to see that, but you can see over time that hasn't changed. And so during this survey, reinforced it. And in fact, Kathy Spears at the board meeting on Tuesday was talking about something related to an activity, and she said, well, we've got to get to the guidance counselors. And I looked at her and she said, we have to get it to the parents. So that has really formed our strategy in marketing and in our K-12 recruitment activities, that we now have reached out to our K-12 partners and are really trying to get our word on their email blasts, in their newsletters, so that we can get our information to the parents. Yes, we'll still get information to the counselors, that is still important, but the primary target is the parents. And so it's by doing surveys like this that we gain really good information about what direction are we going and how should we go. So I really appreciate the students filled out this survey, and our monthly feedback sessions or bi-monthly feedback sessions that we do with students also gives us very rich information. And in fact, at the board meeting this week, Phil asked if we could do those more often because the students feel like they're so valuable and they feel like we're listening to them. So lots of good things happening in that respect. One thing John Newton, I think all of you who've been here a little bit remember John Newton. He's done some speaking at our college on change and some other topics. We've had him here a couple times since I've been here. He is also helping us with our strategic planning. He presented an overview to the board of the strategic planning process. We will be getting started with that at our professional, is that what we call it, Professional Development Day? We need to get to one name for these days, but right now, Professional Development Day in March. John will be spending some time with staff, and we'll be talking about how we solicit feedback from all of the staff on our mission, our vision, and core values, and going forward with our strategic plan. So there'll be more on that. We don't have that sketched out yet, exactly what it looks like, but we'll be working on that in the near future. And then starting some community activities. Our goal is July to get this all wrapped up, but I can already see we're running into some hiccups just getting things scheduled. So it might be a little bit more into fall before we have the whole product done. But we really would love for sure by September to roll out if we do any modifications to vision, mission, or any of those kinds of things. So a fun project, and we're looking forward to working with John on that. I asked Katie to come up and just talk a little bit about the 50th anniversary and some of the new things that are happening there.
Good morning. So as everyone knows, with us being closed on Tuesday, we had to cancel Tuesday's kickoff of the 50th anniversary, but we have rescheduled it. So save the date for Thursday, March 8th. From 4 to 5:30 p.m. We're going to keep everything else pretty much the same. It's going to be in the Student Center. We'll have our program. We'll share the video. The team for the history part of the 50th anniversary did a great job putting together kind of a pop-up museum with some 50th memorabilia from the years, and it was really cool. So we're excited to share that with everybody when we do the event again on March 8th. So save the date. We're getting the communications out starting today and tomorrow. So hopefully you will start to see that everywhere else. After the kickoff, we're going to start planning our Wine in the Gardens in July, and then the community event in September. So stay tuned. There's still opportunities to get involved. If anybody else wants to jump on the committee or help out, we would welcome that at any time. So any questions on the 50th? We're really excited, so hopefully everybody can make it on March 8th and share in the celebration.
I was really impressed as I've been out in the community the last couple of weeks, how many people have come up to me and talked about how excited they were for the event that we ended up canceling. So after a brief conversation about, well, should we still reschedule it, or we knew that we really needed to because so many people were looking forward to doing it. So that's great. It's great that the community feels like that. And only 2 people showed up. So that's pretty good. And they were 2 former employees. So we'll get them to come back on March 8th. So hopefully you can join us for that event. We promise it's not going to be long. It's going to be a little bit of time for socializing, a little bit of speaking, and then just a nice celebration of the last 50 years of our college. And we'll get those water pipes fixed. There was a financial update at the board meeting just talking about the state money, that the fiscal year 17 and 18 money. We have almost all of the 17 money in, and that will be the next payment that we'll receive. And then for fiscal year 18 money, we may not get it all in this fiscal year. We may go into fiscal year 19, but they are still telling us that they're going to give us all the money that they told us they would give. That's the tricky thing with the state. Even though they tell you they're giving you the money, that doesn't, you don't cash the check until you see the check. So, or start spending the money until you see the check. So we're hopeful still, but we're okay. We're doing just fine. We've got enough to cover this year, and even enough to plan for next year. So we feel good about where we're at right now with the state budget. Kevin did an update on the facilities, and I'd ask Kevin, if you'd be willing now to just kind of walk through what we've done and what's on the agenda in our facilities.
So yes, we with so many things going on campus, facilities-wise, it's kind of a standing agenda item for the board, just so they understand what's happening and then what's coming. Because they hear things about master planning, they hear things for individual projects, they hear things like repair projects. So it's kind of good to bring it all together in one. So we just talked to them about a few things, and just so you're aware of them too, of what's happened and then what's going to happen. As it relates to painting, you've seen the painting that we've done on campus and the B14s and the classrooms and the hallways. That's going to continue. First week of March, they're going to be back on campus, and they're going to be working on those the hallways that extend really from the gym all the way up to the library area. So you'll see some the color there around the triangle areas on A12 and A1300. Those are going to be painted as well and look even better than they do right now. So that's kind of exciting. We've already done the removal of the fireplaces, and we've gotten the furniture by the fire pit, so you've seen that. So we reminded them about that. And we've done some other office remodeling up in the President's area. That's all been completed as well. Some of the things that are coming that we're talking about will be we're going to do something for the Jenkins and A1225. As good as the AV system is in there, it was anyway. It's it's 15 years old now, and it's not working as well as it used to be. There aren't replacement parts available for it. It's not really a good setup in there. If you've ever given a talk in there, you know that. So we're going to be over the summer looking at replacing the AV, the carpet, look at the paint, kind of refresh those areas. Those are highly used on campus, and I think it makes sense to do that. We'll be creating some space over in this wing, actually, down the hall, creating a computer lab in the nursing area to deliver services to them a little bit better. Other thing we're thinking about is creating an employee lounge where the HR offices used to be. You familiar with that area down there? Just maybe moving a wall or two, putting some furniture in there and some power in there for employees to be able to eat their lunches in that place. There's a kitchen in there already, and there's a private office if you need to make a telephone call or something like that. So we'll be working on that. Thinking about doing we have to do something in those A1200 and A1300 hallways. Where the classrooms aren't being utilized anymore. So thinking about ceilings, lighting, doing something with the doors. There are as many different doors as there's that many different styles of doors. And so trying to bring some consistency to that and just create a cleaner look. So we'll be thinking about that. And then finally looking at the Learning Skills Center, it's one of the main places on campus that students come, especially new students, right? They're getting their testing, and then students who are here, they're doing their tutoring. It's really hard to find. We've tried to do some different things with signage, but you know what? It's tucked away, and it's not a real good setup. So thinking about looking at, is there anything we can do to kind of open that area up with some glass perhaps, so if people walk by they can actually see in there and see what's going on, so it may be easier to find. So we're thinking about a project like that as well. So those are some of the things we talked to the board about, and then some of the things that Lori will be talking about is how we're going to use some of our operations and maintenance funds. We're going to be pulling some of that into the operating fund this year, and Lori will talk about how we're going to do that. And so we just reminded the board that we're going to do that as well. So anyway, that's the update on facilities. And this week, I think you're aware that of everything that happened, and so I just want to thank Keith and Bill Nicholas was here, and I see people in the corner over there from Stacy and Ted and everybody. A lot of great work to keep this place running and getting it back on line as soon as we can. So thanks to everybody who did that.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that, Kevin. I think you really start to see the teamwork when something like that happens, when we have a little bit of a mini crisis on our campus. So all good. And we will be checking the rest of our water pipes. We'll somehow figure out how we can study those, since there has been 2 of them in the last 6 years. We need to figure out what's going on there. One of the comments Phil Oliver made at the board meeting, it was about the furniture in the classrooms and how much better it is for him and fellow students, how they like the tables. They're so glad the desks are gone. The painters are coming back the first week of March First week of March, they're going to be in the hallways. So what I'm going to ask of people is if it's offensive, if people are smelling it or whatever, you need to let us know. Either we get fans set up or what we need to do to help, because we want to continue to move forward on some of these projects. Our goal is to have a lot of the painting done by spring graduation. The fire pits, they're anticipated to be done by the end of the school year. Where you might have noticed on the portal, HR is hiring a couple of temporary people to help Keith, get him some help to keep those fire pits moving. Now that we've got the prototype on the one, the other two will go a lot faster. So doing some of that, but I'm going to tell you, there isn't a student that I haven't talked to or seen, and even when it was pounding and noisy in that triangle area, they're still sitting in those booths. Students are loving what's going on, and it is so important. So there's been a lot of questions and concern, I guess I would call it, about the money we're spending. Again, there was referendum money that was left over. That money is what we're using first. There was about 1.1 million. The list of projects that Kevin just talked about are about, the estimate right now is about 197,000 more than that 1.1 million to do all of the projects that we've talked about. The good news is we're anticipating getting 6.9 million from the state for fiscal year 17 and 18. So we still have some money, and $197 in a $21 million budget is pretty much small change. And you cannot, folks, and I hope that people are recognizing that it does matter to potential students, it does matter to potential and current students and parents what our facilities look like. They're coming out of nice high schools. We need to look like a college. We need to have technology that keeps up with a college. You cannot run an organization without capital dollars. And I think that that's just something we have to address. Now, we're not going to go crazy and spend a ton of money, but we're going to continue to get our facilities to a decent place for our learners. It's so important. But again, if you come across areas in our college that you feel like, you know what, this is looking a little dingy, maybe we could pick it up a little bit, please send Kevin an email, send Keith an email, send me an email, and just say, hey, have you guys checked out this area? Looks like it could use a little refresh. Sometimes we can repurpose furniture. We're not buying everything new. The new student center, there was a lot of furniture bought in that new student center when that addition was open. We're repurposing some of that furniture into other areas of the college too. We are trying to be very conservative with the dollars and do this as cheaply as possible. So, but we have to do it. We have to do it for our students. Some of those other areas like Hort and down outside of welding and down by the vending machines by IT, that furniture is getting repurposed and a little bit of new stuff is coming into those spaces as well. So hang on, we're going to do a few things, and then for this year we're probably going to be done. We need to see what happens with the state budget this year, and then we'll plan for going forward what we do next. So does anybody have any questions on facilities? Yeah, do you want to just would you mind stepping up to the mic? Thank you.
No, I don't want to step by the microphone. When are the classrooms going to be back in use? Do we know?
Which classrooms?
Just the ones that are all closed off that we can't use right now?
Those will not be back in use.
Oh, ever?
Well, I'm not going to say ever.
Oh, I just thought they were renovating and then we're going to use them again.
No, it would cost us millions of dollars to renovate those classrooms.
Oh, so they're just out of commission.
We're calling them mothballed. Yeah, no, we're not. We can't afford it, and we don't. At this point, we don't have a need with our decreased enrollments. We don't have a need. There are still some other areas that there are some classrooms that we could look at, and if we start to grow, we will definitely reopen those classrooms. We're remodeling it so they can easily be reopened. But at this point, and that's why we moved, because they wouldn't have any of the new desks, any of the new furniture. It just is, there's 13 classrooms there that we closed down, and it truly saved us a lot of money. We don't have to have custodial cleaning it every night. We just have to be, when you have less resources, we just have to become more efficient in how we use our space. Thank you for the question. Sure. Any other questions on facilities? Yes, Nick. You have to step to the mic for our friends who can't be here today.
All right, mine's more of a comment. Sorry. You're all
He just
awake
woke
now?
everybody up.
Everyone's awake? Sorry. Mine's more along the lines of a comment. We have 2 student workers that work with us. In those triangle areas, they utilize them between classes. And one specific comment, not only that they liked them and they loved them, one of our student workers says, it's so much more brighter there, he doesn't feel like he wants to take a nap all the time. So that's a good feedback you guys should know. So
Great,
just wanted to let
thank
you know.
If you walk into the older areas and then you walk into the new one, it does feel like the lights just came on. So yeah, and we're excited to see what we design with our Hort department. They're working on the painted brick. We're going to put some greenage in those. So I think Janet is working on doing some things in there. So it'll be great. Okay, at this time now, I want to go over the fiscal year 19 budget assumptions. So is it Brooke? Who's up there today? Yay, hey Brooke. Are we ready? And RJ, you got me covered? Wonderful. Okay. So through the official operations budget for the college will be approved by the board in September. So what we do now is we start rolling out the high-level assumptions, what we think at this point, because in March the board has to vote on tuition increases. So every year February, this is our first rollout. So here's just the overview. Last year, or this current year, here's our budget, 20.6 million. Next year we are proposing 21.9 million. A little bit of things, like we talked about, $500,000 in just computer replacement, classroom upgrades, classroom equipment, and that $197,000 I talked about in the facilities project. So that attributes a little bit of that increase, and just costs continue to go up. Everyone's getting a raise next year, so that's all good stuff. Our operating balance, fiscal year 17, ending balance of $4 million. Projected fiscal year 18 ending balance 5.15 million. The board parameters is 25% of your operating budget is in reserve, is in your fund balance, and 25% of 20.6 million is 5.15 million. Jill, you got us spot on. Perfect. So we're doing really well considering where we were 2 years ago. Everybody remember that 2 years ago? Flashback. We're at such a great place, so and really a tribute to a lot of people here who've done a lot of hard work to get us there. We started a new putting money into an O&M account, and I would say what's the easiest way to think about this is it's like a savings account. So we have our fund balance, which we have to keep for our fiscal health. But then we also created an account where it's not part of our operating budget because we're not using it for operations this year, but we're parking money for a rainy day because we've had some rainy days here in Illinois. So we're parking a little bit of money there. Currently, we have 3.13 million in there, and this is important when I start to talk about the budget projection for next year. So we've got 3.13 million, it's sitting there, it's not earmarked for anything right now, it's at a good place. We are anticipating, once we get all the state money, and again, it could be until December of 2018 before we get it all, we would have 6.9 million. That's what we're shooting for, that's what we're hoping the state will give us. But right now, we've got today we've got 3.13 million, right? We haven't gotten any more payments, have we, Jill? No. So here's the assumptions we're starting this budget with. We are putting in 0 state funds into our budget. We're no longer going to speculate about what the state's going to give us when we build our operational budget. It makes it hard. 2 years ago, we sunk way in using our reserves. It caused us lots of issues with the Higher Learning Commission and bond ratings and all kinds of things. So we're just going to say, you know what? We're not going to count on any money from the state. EAV, which is property values, this year we're at a 6.2 increase, so this 4.5% increase is conservative. But we'd rather be conservative than over speculate where property values, how much properties our values are going to increase. And this one's kind of a crystal ball, but that's what we're estimating they'll be at. Enrollment decrease of 7%. we looked at enrollments over the last 5 years, and on average, we have an enrollment decrease of 7%. So we are using that at this point in the year to determine what we think our enrollments will be. Once April rolls around and May, we're going to be able to adjust this number according to where it's looking for fall. But for right now, we're going to start with a 7% decrease. Pay increases, I just said, we've still got some work to do with some of our unions, but pay increases, we've got some committed and some that we're planning on having once we get some contracts settled. No change in health insurance costs for this year, and it's just fiscally sound to put in some sort of increase for the following year. Healthcare costs usually go up every year. We've just been really fortunate at Kish that everyone's so healthy. Increase of 2% in tuition. That means $3 for a standard class. This is about, 2% is about a cost of living increase right now. In fact, I think it's a little below. I think recently I just saw something that was closer to 3% is what COLA is at right now, the cost of living increase. But talked to 2 student groups about this, student government and academic achievement and Phi Theta Kappa students. We talked about this tuition increase. They were pretty much okay with it. They still feel like Kish is a really good value. So we have gone out to some student groups and gotten some feedback. We know we did a huge increase in tuition last year comparatively to other years. So we're going to be conservative this year and just do a small increase and not change anything in course fees or what's the other one called? Student fees. The fees that pay for food service, bookstore, athletics, all of that kind of stuff, our auxiliary accounts. So that's course fees and student fees. No increases in any, well, I shouldn't say that. Some of the course fees will if there's fees that go up with instructional materials. So that's a little bit, that was my miss and I just saw it. But anyway, it's student fees that there is no increase. So how are we going to make this balance with 0 state aids? This is what we're going to start doing, folks, at Kishwaukee College, at least for the foreseeable future. We're going to start using that O&M budget that we receive from our savings account and transfer that over into our operating budget. So instead of speculating on what we think the state's going to give us, we are going to budget with what we know we already have. So I said a few minutes ago we have $3.13 million currently in our O&M fund, and we are planning to spend $2.5 million of that in our budget next year. So that still leaves us a little bit. It also tells us that if we get that $6.9 million that we're anticipating getting, and we continue to do this kind of accounting practice, that helps us out the following year. So this gets us a little bit on more financial stable ground. And so this is the way we're going to proceed with budgeting for the foreseeable future. So, but we still continue to have cost saving strategies because costs do go up and our revenue is going down. About 54% of our revenue is tuition and fees, correct, Jill? Are we about 55% of our revenue coming into this college is student fees and tuition, and when you have less students, you have less revenue. So we still have to do reductions. So currently there are 12 vacated positions or people who are vacating positions because they're retiring. So we know of 12 at this point who've already said they're leaving or have already left during the course of the year that will be unfilled. They are being filled, as some of you probably know, they're being filled with existing staff, or we're going to hire some part-time people. As the retirements occur, we'll backfill with some part-time positions and do some things like that. We are going to add 2 new positions. We're going to add a director of nursing, and we're going to add an associate dean who primarily will learn the CTE world. We have to start some succession planning for key leaders who are planning to leave the organization, and we always appreciate when we get advance notice. So we're going to start some of that to make sure that our programs are stable and on sound ground. So those will be 2 new positions. You'll be, in fact, the director of nursing position is already posted, correct? And the associate dean one we're working on right now. So that will be soon. So what does this do with these positions and these swap outs and things? It's a net reduction right now of over $400,000, almost $500,000 we can save by switching these things around, moving people around, combining duties, and so lots of conversations going on about that. you know, I call it playing the shell game, and I really think that this is the least painful way for an organization to right size. You'll see on there, okay, so in 2015, when I stood here 2 years ago, we had 384 full-time staff. This year, right now, we have 334. We are down 50 full-time people. That's a 13% reduction in our full-time staff. But what you're not seeing up there is RIFs or layoffs. We are not doing any this year because I believe that there are so many people at this college who have done a great job of some of this. Does this have a pointer on it, RJ? Anyway, of the shifting and the understanding and working with the unions to redo job descriptions to help with that, that really the college community overall has done such a good job of understanding how we need to shift things around, that we're able to make this work, at least for this year, and we can only do this 1 year at a time. At least for this year, we're going to make it without any rifts or the things we went through 2 years ago. I think that's a really good thing, and I commend a lot of the people in this room for making that happen. Enrollment priorities. This is the stuff we're going to keep working on. We're going to work on that retention and student success back to enrollments. If we keep our students, we get their tuition revenue. We're going to talk about maybe some incentives. There was a really good one brought up at full faculty meeting, and so we're gonna start talking about that, and we're gonna focus on student success, and you're gonna see that as we do our goals in August. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that one, getting students to completion. What certificates and things do we have for our students who don't want the full degree, to make sure that we still get them a credential coming out of Kishwaukee College. Online, that's a given. We've been talking about that. Our partnerships with our K-12s, NIU, higher education, and businesses. Our certificates, we have to look at time to degree. This is a national trend in higher education. People don't want to be in college as long anymore. And part of it is the workforce is taking people when they have some skills. They're coming in and saying, hey, we'll hire you even with the skills you've gained without earning your credential. But we want them to leave with something, so we have to look at how we chunk our programming. They can come back, they can stop out, come back and finish their degree, but also that we help them get their degrees more quickly. Partnerships with our K-12s is going to be critical, and truly working with NIU and being a partner and how we consolidate and share some things. And there's some kind of cool conversations that are going on. That's going to take us a while, but it's going to be good. If our students can go to football games and they can go to use student activity things there, if we can somehow come up with a dual enrollment sort of program, that's going to, or a dual admission sort of program, I don't know, where they can get a ID over there or something like that. Those are some of the conversations we're starting. Like, how can we ensure that our students stay local? We want them to come to Kish, but if they also then go to NIU, we keep them in our communities, and that's a really good thing for all of us. This parent one, you all know where that came from, our student survey. And the stuff I said I heard 20 years ago, that's not changing. Parents are the most influential person in making the decision on what you do with the rest of your life after you graduate. So we're going to continue to work on that one. Our facilities, we've talked a lot about our facilities today. We're committed to that. We're going to make this place look like a college again, and make people proud to be working and going to school here. And we're going to keep working on this cost of textbooks. I know Joanne and the faculty and lots of people are involved in looking at what some pilot programs and things we can do to reduce those costs. Questions? Thoughts? Comments? Good news? Yeah? People still look a little somber, but all right. If you think of something and you want to ask a question or whatever, feel free, just raise your hand. We're a small group in here today with, we're closer together. Okay, annual report to the community. How many of you have seen a copy of it, the new one? Some of you? Good. They're around campus. I think they look great. They tell a great story for our college. So take a look at one, be proud of all the great things we do here. The board approved an associate, applied, is it an applied associates? It's an applied associates in agribusiness It's our first new associate's program in over 10 years. That's pretty cool, though, that we got that one. The board is very proud of the fact we're bringing something business-related to the college. We have Hort, and that certainly is related, but this one's actually got agriculture in its title, and the board is very pleased with that. So great work, again, on the part of a lot of people to get that one up and running, and we'll be offering that in the fall for our students. Staffing updates. Should have bought my, it's a little dark in here. Stephen Samuels, are you here? Stefan? Sorry. Thank you. Not here. Okay, he's a part-time academic advisor, a temporary one. He's here through the summer, so we welcome him to our campus. Amelia Watson. Amelia, are you here? Nope, she is a part-time employee also helping Scott in athletics. There's a lot going on in athletics and with intramurals and all kinds of things, so she's here part-time to help Scott and the team. Zachary Ludwig is the new women's head soccer coach, and Tamara Newquist is a new part-time temp in continuing education. Michelle Jones is departing. She's leaving Kish on 4/16. We wish her the best. Thank you for her years of service. Thank you, Michelle. Becky Lundgren. Becky Lundgren is also departing. She's leaving on June 30th. Becky, we wish you well. And Karen Barron, she is a nursing instructor, and she is leaving on March 9th. We have a couple of changes for staff. Mike Ebner, Mike, are you here? Yeah, there you are. Mike's got a new job. He is going to be an application programmer, and he's already started, so congratulations, Mike. And Jessica. Jessica is taking on a new role. Remember I talked about the shifting and the moving and some of the things that are going on. We have already talked about Laura Shavini is retiring at the end of the year. And so, no, you're not even going until the end of the year, are you? Now that I think about your days. 67 days. 60. Now, I talked to Laura when it was at 89, so she's ticking them away. But as Laura's departing, we're giving some backup to marketing. Jessica's going to kind of do dual duty. She's going to help out with marketing and some of the administrative things, helping out down there, as well as still doing the bookstore. So, Jessica, congratulations. Good luck. Thank you. And again, you'll see more of those. Those will start to be rolled out this spring. You'll see some more of things like that happening. So we appreciate all the people who are helping us along to keep the boat afloat. Okay, enrollment. So I'm going to give you the specifics on enrollment in case you haven't heard lately where we're at. It's better. Not great, but it's better. Credits for spring, we're down 7.6. This is up from fall when we were down 9.8. So it's better, and we were down 9.2 in summer. Our student head count for spring is negative 7.7. So overall, where are we going to finish the year, Matt? 8, between 8 and 9. It's not double digits. I talked a lot at the last presidential briefing. If any of you read the letter to the editor that I put in the paper, that we put in, it's probably in Rochelle's paper today, I think it runs, or 22nd, yep, today. Just really talking about the trends that are going on in higher education, and it's especially bad for those of us who are close to the Iowa and Wisconsin borders. It's really easy for our students to be migrating out. So we're going to keep working at it. We're going to keep lots of legislative activities going on, lots of phone calls with the presidents regarding legislative issues and how we can get out there and be in front of people. So we'll keep talking, and because as I said last time, I truly believe that the short-term effect of the budget crisis was no money for a couple years. The long-term effect is it scared parents and students. And now they're so concerned about the future of higher education in Illinois that they're going out of state. If we don't have a state budget this year, truly the worst thing we can do is probably be screaming that we're not sure we can make it. So at Kish, we're building our budget differently. We're going to talk about we need that money, but We are going to be fine, and we have to continue to send that message. I talked to one young lady from a high school, and she said, you know what, I'm worried that the colleges aren't going to be there. And I said, we may look different, but we will be here another 50 years. And that's the message we have to keep sending to our communities. We're okay, folks. We're okay. In fact, we're better than okay. We're doing great. College Welcome Day was this past week. It was Monday, right? Where's Michelle? Monday. It was just this week. The days seem to run together. 78 attendees, that's about double what we've had before. We think the marketing, direct marketing to parents is working. So, and we saw on the survey that the visit days are very important to our students. It helps them to decide. So we know we need to continue to do those. Any questions on any of that? The only thing I wanted to talk about before I get into the staff highlights and the good news is just wanted to share a few things that the students talked about this time at the listening sessions, the 2 listening sessions that we did with them. We talked a little bit about getting the word out on new courses. This has been a conversation that's come up with faculty before, like how do we get the word out about new courses we offer? One of the suggestions I had was to make sure we have like a button right on the front page of the website, especially close to registration, where you can click, here's the new courses for this semester. Students also said they would like a registration party. And they don't want it to be called a bash, and they don't want it to be called a kickoff, they want a party. So we are going to do a registration party before registration in April, and we're going to set it up in the cafeteria area and have it open there, and we'll have food and we'll have beverages, and hopefully we'll have people representing their program areas, and we'll get students interested in what different areas have to offer as far as courses. So they thought that was a great idea. They too want to know what the new options are available. They talked about so many of our students work, and they talked about the options and opportunities to work while they go to school, whether it's a work study, but even more so to be able to get some related work experience in their chosen field. So we talked a little bit about internship programs. They weren't really aware of how they get information on internship programs or what the opportunities are there. So we need to work on beefing that up on our website as well. Lucretia does a great job, but she's covering a lot of bases right now. We are going to get her some part-time help too, because students are really wanting this. And because the economy is doing so well, our businesses are really beating on her door. Like, I need some students, I need some interns, I need some workers. So from both perspectives, we need to provide a little bit of support up in that area. We're going to work on some joint marketing with businesses in Kish. Come to Kish, get a job here. That's a new pilot we're going to try. We're meeting with some business partners right now. So hopefully that will get up and running in the next couple of months, and to really help get that word out that come to Kish and here's the jobs you get. There was a great article, Dave, one of your students in the paper he's a police officer with DeKalb. Was that in yesterday's paper? But he's a graduate of your program, but he lives in the neighborhood he grew up in DeKalb, and so he's like one of those resident police officers. And he talked about how he went to Wisconsin to college for a year, and then he came back to Kishwaukee College and got his criminal justice degree. So those are great stories. And we need to help people understand, and even if you do boomerang, you go out and come here, come back and come here, and we're happy to serve you. We asked about communication and how we do, like how do we get the word out about new classes? How do we get the word out about internships? How do we get that out to students? One of the things they said to us is that when faculty require them to read emails as part of their class, they read emails. So then if we're sending emails, they'll look at them. And I thought that was a good strategy. So we haven't really talked, I don't know, Joanne, if you've mentioned that yet. I don't think we've rolled that out, but that's something definitely for us to talk about, is to really have students be paying attention to their emails and having faculty help us with that. Bulletin boards. Now that we've got the hallways beautifully painted and we're getting the furniture looking like it's from the 2000s at least and not the 1970s, we are looking at, we have tons and tons and tons of bulletin boards on our campus. We sometimes joke about finding things on the bulletin boards. We found stuff from the 1980s on some of our bulletin boards. And so we asked students, do you look at bulletin boards? And guess what they said? No. So we're going to work on this. I think we're going to get some groups together, some group of staff people to talk about, what is the need. Can we get some more monitors in some of the hallways, get some more monitors in the student lounge areas? They said they do look at the monitors. But I think bulletin boards, like some other things, are probably not as popular as they once were. So we're going to be talking about that, but I just want to throw it out there. That is something that we did talk with students about, and they don't look at them. Not too much anyway. So even though we might think it's a good way to market, if the students aren't reading it, and it's kind of a cool sociological study. Prenevalon would be proud doing sociological studies. So I've been trying to watch when I'm walking in the halls to see if students look at the bulletin boards. And what students are looking at? Looking at their phones. All looking at their phone. I did see one student one day, though, looking at a bulletin board, but for the most part, they're all looking at their phones. So we have to continue to capitalize on that. All right, quickly, some staff highlights, and I'm going to turn it over to people to share. June Callahan, Assistant Professor of Nursing, successfully defended her doctoral dissertation on December 1st at Capella. Very cool. I know she's glad to be done with that. The title of her dissertation is The Efficacy of Problem-Based Teaching Strategies on Facilitating Student Engagement in a Flipped Learning Module. Chase Budziak has been invited to participate as a panelist in the Pathway to Results panel for fiscal year 18. Kish's project is redesigning developmental ed math pathways. And Tim Lockman, our reference librarian, has completed his coursework and will be awarded his master's certificate in instructional design from the University of Wisconsin-Stout, a college I also have a degree from. So very cool. So very proud of our staff and faculty as they continue to professionally develop and do some great things for us. All right, I'm done. Who's got something to share? Come on, we've got to have something positive. Dave.
Good morning, everybody. The good news that I've got to share has been with us for years and years and years. It's our facilities team. If you think about it, in February, a group of people that number about 32 have brought us through a very difficult time. We've dealt with 20 plus inches of snow in less than a week. It's a very difficult job. 12 people are on the plow team. We divide them in half. Half of them work the first 12 hours of the day, the second half works the last 12 hours a day. Very grueling job if you've never done that. This last thing that we came through, the water main, it wasn't actually a breakage, it was a failure due to poor craftsmanship when it was installed. Was taken care of very, very professionally. If you didn't know this, we have 5 licensed and certified potable water operators that are very, very familiar with the Illinois Department of Public Health standards for places like Kishwaukee. Those people, one in particular, Steve Comedina, ensures that our water is safe every day of the year. There was not one time during this emergency incident that we lost our sanitation in the water that was here. We issued a boil order to stay under the law, and most importantly to protect you in case something catastrophic happened. But all the lab tests came back, everything was just fine. We're back to normal again. I'm so proud, and I've been proud for several years to work and be associated with this team. I don't know of anybody who's got a team that's this strong and durable as we do here. We're very fortunate.
I couldn't agree because, sometimes we don't realize, come out here on a Saturday and you'll see facilities people here. You hear about, the snowstorm. Keith will be sending texts, okay, we've got it cleaned out. Now we've got to get someone to haul it away. I mean, they work tirelessly to keep our institution open and running for our students. And sometimes I think you are the forgotten heroes of our college, so thank you for all you do. And I was here yesterday washing my hands in those sinks, so I'm so glad today the test came back. Some of my peers brought in wipes to wash their hands, but I was going to walk on the wild side. I trusted them. I was using the sink.
I just want to add one thing, that this is the 4th institution I've ever worked at, and my last, hopefully. I worked at Elmhurst College, which is my alma mater, North Central and NIU in here. And it's so refreshing, if people have not worked elsewhere, to see the commitment to students and their happiness, but also to the people. I mean, to have your vice president ask you about how you're doing, or your president to say, you know, we've worked not hard not to have rifts. It makes a real difference when you know that people are thinking about you and that you're appreciated. So I just want to say thank you for everyone for their work in that area.
I have a couple things to share. First of all, Amy Ehrman in the English department has been recently invited to be a guest blogger and presenter at a writing conference in Green Bay, Wisconsin called Untitled Town. So we're excited that she'll be showcasing her writing skills to a big group of people. They're going to have some really nice headliners in terms of writing famous writers and celebrity writers, so that'll be exciting for her. And then additionally, Kishwaukee College received a $1,900 grant from the Rockford Area Arts Council for a creative collaborative project between arts and athletics. We have so much momentum going with athletics right now that Scott Kwall and I are inviting high school teams and our own Kishwaukee College athletes to join a Rockford artist, and we're going to be working in clay. So it's called throwing versus throwing. So throwing, like throwing a pot on the wheel, versus throwing as in like pitching. And so this artist is a former baseball college pitcher himself. So the teams will be coming out here and they'll be pitching clay at targets outside on September 15th as part of the 50th anniversary. I know this is wild and weird. It's going to be so much fun. And then the teams are going to be able to take home their sculptures and they'll get a chance to intermingle with our own college athletes. So it should be a really nice mix of things. And again, grant funded through the Illinois Arts Council, Rockford Area Arts Council. So very exciting.
I want to follow up on, thank you, Jamie, and Steve, if you have any Packer ideas you want to give to Amy, since she's going to be in Titletown. I do want to follow up on Missy's comment about culture and college, and really, I hope you recognize, sometimes Bob Hammond gives me a hard time and says, okay, quit with the positive. But truly, if your leader and your leadership team, if we can't be positive, I don't know who can, right? We have to stay positive through this. These are changes in our industry. But we can get through this, and we know every day we do great things for students. And sometimes it's so easy to get sucked into the negative, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm right there. This weekend I told my family, I'm gonna make a list, and I did it in my iPad. I made a list of all the great things about working at Kishwaukee College. And I'm telling you, I had 10 things I could quickly name off like that. What are the positives of being the president at Kishwaukee College? And then I thought, and what are the things that are causing me to not sleep very good right now? And I came up with about 3 things. So we need to focus on that, folks. We need to be kind to each other. We need to work together, and we need to focus on the positives. There's a lot of ugly things going on in our world. I'm telling you, the Florida stuff has me a little freaked out, and we are going to talk about security again this week at senior leadership, because especially at night, this place makes me a little crazy. We have so many doors, and we're so open, and we have so few people here, and people isolated in our building. We've got to figure that out. So, but we have so much to be grateful and thankful for. And I just, sometimes when you hear these awful, horrendous things that happen in our country and happen in education, we have to be so thankful that we have each other, and then we have each other's backs, and we're working together for the sake of our students. And that is definitely my mission, that we are going to stay positive, and we're going to keep moving forward through all of this. And again, please feel free to give ideas and suggestions. There are so many things that we do at Kish because either staff or students suggested it. Really, that's the secret to the genius sometimes, is just knowing how to listen. And I think we as a college community do a really good job of that. So Focus on your positives, and because I was a cognitive therapist when I was a counselor, action and do something positive. I challenge all of you to go make your lists of what are the positive things about working at Kishwaukee College. And when you're having a really sucky day, as we all do, go back and look at your list and remember why you're here and what's important. That's my challenge to all of you. Is there anybody else who has anything positive to share? Thank you for all you do. Keep up the good fight. See you soon.